Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of Cinema Chat, my weekly podcast thing where we talk about movies and there's a certain topic every week. And this week's topic is going to be the Fast and Furious franchise. Now, you may be wondering, why are you talking about the Fast and Furious franchise? Fast X comes out on Friday. Well, I'm actually going to be out of town starting this week, so I will not actually be able to review Fast X right away, but I wanted to give some sort of coverage on the Fast and Furious franchise while it is relevant, and then whenever I get back from vacation, I will do a probably like a late review of Fast X. So, yeah, the Fast and Furious franchise, one of the most interesting franchises of all time. I will definitely say that because it started off as a street car, or not a street car, but a street racing franchise. Like the first movie and the third movie are about street racing. And then now it's just like this blockbuster franchise where you just go to see it with your friends just to have like this fun time with people doing ridiculous shit with cars. Like that's that's what this franchise has turned into. And for as dumb as those movies get with just people doing dumb shit with cars, it's pretty fun and it's entertaining. And I definitely prefer that stuff to the street racing um, thing. So, yeah, personally, I wouldn't really say I'm a fan of this franchise. I'm just kind of like, sure, whatever. Oh, there's a new one. Cool. I'll go see it. Don't really have any excitement for it. I mean, Jason Momoa in it. That's kind of cool, but I don't really give a shit. Like, they could cancel Fast X today, and I'd be like, oh well. Like I'm not gonna throw a huge hissy fit if about it. Like I've seen all these movies twice. I watched through them all once when F9 came out. Now I'm rewatching through them all because Fast X is coming out. So yeah, it isn't a franchise I revisit without reason. Besides one of the movies. One of the movies when we talk about it today is one movie that I really genuinely enjoy and I go see, or not go see, but I rewatch it probably about once a year. But so we're just gonna make our way through the franchise, starting with the first movie, and then we're just gonna like go in release order, talking about each film and my thoughts on it. Not really a ranking. Don't really feel like ranking these movies because I don't know. I, I don't know. It's not that interesting to me to rank these films, so we'll just be discussing them in release order, leading up all the way to F9, because, well, I haven't seen Fast X yet, so I can't discuss that one. So, yeah, we got 10 movies today. Yes. So, let's start this thing off with the first movie, The Fast and the Furious from 2001. And I think this movie is okay. As someone that doesn't really care about cars, I'm not someone that wants to pimp out their vehicle with all this cool stuff and wants their car to look fancy and like talks about cars and looks at cars and like goes to car shows and stuff. That's not really my thing. I don't really care. Like I have a car, it gets me to point A to point B. That's all that really matters to me. It functions and I clean it, so like that's good enough for me. I don't need to go 0 to 60 in 5 seconds or something like that. I'm not about like making all these modifications to my cars and whatever. So cars don't really mean a whole lot. Well, they don't. I'm not very interested in them. So seeing a movie about racing in cool cars, it's just like, sure, yeah, that was good, but I don't know, just kind of like whatever. It's just kind of whatever. It's fine. Um, but I do like that it kind of it started off this franchise. Like watching it, it's just kind of cool to be like, oh yeah, this started this 11 movie long franchise now. So it's always kind of cool when you watch the first movie in a franchise and then watch the rest of the franchise, and then you go back and revisit the first one. Like, this is just where it all started. It's always kind of cool to redo that. Like, I like doing that with Friday the 13th. I like doing that with the MCU when I rewatch the first Iron Man. It's just so cool to be like, yeah, this is where it all started. So it's got like those legacy points, I guess. But yeah, not a movie I'm overly eager to rewatch all the time, but it's okay. Um, you get the start of the bromance between Vin Diesel and Paul Walker. Maybe not bromance, the family. It's all about family. So yeah, Fast and the Furious first one is good. Is a good one. Then the second movie, Too Fast, Too Furious. It's kind of like a buddy cop movie in a way. And I don't know. It but still like that cool car stuff, right? So Too Fast, Too Furious is when you get the introduction of Roman and Tej into the franchise. Um, and yeah, they're two of the funnier characters as you go along. They're kind of the comedic relief characters. So it's nice to see them start in this movie. But this movie's just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really do it for me for like a buddy cop movie. It's just kind of generic, a little bit boring at times. So I'm not overly fond of this one. I definitely prefer the first Fast and Furious to this one. But it's okay. I mean, if you like buddy cop movies, if you're a fan of this franchise, you'll probably enjoy it too. Um, it just isn't my thing. I'm gonna say that for these first four movies, pretty much that they're just not my thing until we get to Fast Five, and then from there I'll get some more interesting opinions out. But yeah. Then next up, the third movie, which is my least favorite movie of this franchise, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Um, yeah, I don't know. This movie's just weird because it's like the street racing stuff that I'm not very interested in, and then I don't know. I just don't like the characters as much in this one. To a certain extent, it kind of just feels like you're rehashing the original a little bit, but you just change locations, so now you're just in Tokyo. You have the whole thing where, oh, Han died and then it got retconned, but we've done that like three times in this franchise now. Like, in retrospect, it's not that interesting to see that happen. Because, yeah, this is the one where it showed Han dying, right? Or is that the end of Furious 6? It's one of them. I think so. I think they showed in this one. He dies with air quotes. Anyways. Anyways. Um, so yeah, it's just a less interesting version of the first movie to me. So yeah, again, since it's kind of a subject matter I don't really, I'm not very interested in, and it's just a rehash of that first one. It's not. I'd rather just rewatch the first one, and it's not the Fast and Furious movies that I more gravitate towards. So to me, this is the worst of the Fast and the Furious movies while still being a watchable film. It's just not one I'm particularly interested in or particularly like. So, I mean, if this is the worst that your franchise does, then you're doing okay. Like, have my letterboxed pulled up right now, and I have it rated at a 2 out of 5 stars. Tokyo Drift, right? If the lowest your franchise is a 2 out of 5 stars, then you're doing pretty good for a franchise, right? Like most franchises, that one that you never my piece on Tokyo Drift there. And then we have Fast and Furious from 2009 to 4 starting to get a little bit of that Fast Five and onwards flavor in this one, but this is probably the movie where if you're in this franchise for like the street racing stuff, you probably stop after here. But if you're in this franchise for the more ridiculous blockbuster, not intelligent. So next up we have Fast Five, which is uh one of the best in this franchise. This is just when the franchise is like, okay, we got all this star power. Let's bring in The Rock, and now let's have just fun blockbusters. And it was a really fun blockbuster, like heist movie, where they still have that Fast and Furious feel because they're still doing all these stunts with cars and stuff, but just takes it to that next level of fun blockbuster where they're doing all this ridiculous stuff, but it's just so fun to watch where you understand it's ridiculous, but you still enjoy it, right? So this one probably balances it the best out of all the Fast and the Furious movies where it's like, yeah, they're doing ridiculous shit, but it's not too ridiculous, right? So yeah, I really enjoy Fast Five. It, I mean, I just love heist movies in general. Like one of my favorite films of all time is Ocean's 11. So a good heist movie, I will always be down for that. Just um, fun blockbusters, I'm always down for that. And this one merges the two, and you got star power, you got some cool car stunts. So yeah, I really dig Fast Five. Really do. Really. Of like the blockbuster Fast and Furious movies where they just do crazy shit, this one would be my least favorite. I think the villain here with Owen Shaw is fine. Um, there are some cool action sequences in this one, but it doesn't hit the level of the other blockbuster Fast and Furious movies. But I would rewatch this one over any of the first four. The first four are my four least favorite in this franchise. Um, yeah, so I would rewatch Fast Six over them because it's more of the fun blockbuster stuff I enjoy. Just as a fun blockbuster, though, it's just kind of okay, kind of generic, but it is enjoyable. It is enjoyable. So if you're in this if I can talk, if you're in this franchise for the dumb fun blockbusters, Fast and Furious 6 delivers you a decent time. Then next up we have Furious 7, which I like it. It is a fun movie. Um but it just I don't know. It like you have all that dumb fun blockbuster stuff, but then you also have like the really heavy side of this movie with like the Paul Walker send off stuff because he died during production of this film, and so they had to like wrap his story up, and you have a really nice ending to it, but then you have all this other ridiculous car stuff to it too, and it doesn't merge well for me, that stuff. But just like as a dumb fun blockbuster, I have a real fun time with it, right? Like Vin Diesel fighting Jason Statham with like pieces of metal rebar on top of a parking garage. Like that is fun. Getting to see The Rock have a minigun battle with a helicopter, like that's really fun. Like there's a lot of fun blockbuster things in here. There's a lot of fun cool stunts in this movie, but it just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem tonally consistent throughout the entire film for me. So, yeah, for the main Fast and the Furious movies, this is one of the better of the dumb blockbuster ones, but it's just really tonally inconsistent. And for me, it's just always been a weird watch when I watch that because it's just that tonal inconsistency. But it gave us Jason Statham in this movie, and Jason Statham's been one of my favorites of this franchise. Next up, we have The Fate of the Furious. To me, this one just has one of the weirdest stories in this entire franchise. Like, Dom turning on the family. Like, come on. Like, I understand your plot and, like, why and how you made it work, but just come on, man. Like, you could find some other A-list actor to put in the role of your villain, right? Like in your in your past movies, you had The Rock as one of your antagonists, then you had Jason Statham as one of your antagonists, and then after this one, you had John Cena as an antagonist. You had Idris Elba as an antagonist in the spinoff. Like you can get star power for your antagonist. You don't need to use one of your main protagonists as your antagonist. So that's just like the weirdest story choice to take this movie for me. Um, yeah, that whole thing is just weird. But there are fun action sequences in this one as well. Kind of feel like a broken record with that, but oh well. I'm gonna keep saying it. I really like the sequence where it's like the family versus Dom, where they got like the grappling hook things, and they like stick it into his car and then like try pulling him from like all different directions. Like that is really cool. I really like that sequence. The the whole sequence at the end in Antarctica where they're like driving away from this nuclear submarine while it's shooting torpedoes at it, and they're driving on the ice. Like, come on, that stuff. It's so much fun. It is the dumbest shit ever. It's so fun. Like, like I can just watch these movies and shut my brain off and accept them for the stupid shit that they are. Like I'm not, I don't walk into Fast and Furious movies like, yes, this is going to be Oscar worthy. That thought has never once crossed my mind when watching one of these films. I just accept them for what they are and have a fun time with them. The next Fast and Furious movie, which is my favorite of the franchise, and the only one of these movies that I genuinely love, and that is Hobbs and Shaw. I love this movie. This movie is peak blockbuster where you just have star power and just so much fun, one-liners, huge over-the-top action sequences. This movie is a blast. This was actually my introduction to the Fast and Furious franchise. I had seen none of these movies. And then Hobbs and Shaw came out, and I went to go see Hobbs and Shaw because those trailers made this look so much fun. Plus, like, come on. It's a blockbuster with The Rock and Jason Statham and Idris Elba. Like, I'm going to go see that, regardless if I've seen the previous 8 movies. And you don't really need to watch them. Just walk into this movie with, like, the mindset of fun blockbuster with The Rock and Jason Statham, and you will have an absolute blast. I watch this movie probably once a year. It's just so much fun. Like, genuinely, out of all these movies, this is the one that I'm like, you need to watch this one because Hobbs and Shaw is just so damn good, so damn funny, and this is the peak of this franchise for me personally. This is my favorite one. Um, yeah. As for the movie itself, it tells this really fun buddy cop story, or not buddy cop, but like the, I don't know. Sure, we'll call it buddy cop story between The Rock and Jason Statham, where they're just going at each other the whole movie with like the funniest insults and stuff the whole time. This movie makes me laugh from beginning to end. Like, yeah, it's an action movie, but this movie's also a comedy. It's so funny. It is so over the top. Like when you get to the part where The Rock is holding onto a truck with one hand and holding onto a helicopter by a chain from the other hand, he's able to pull the helicopter back and rehook it onto the truck. Like, come on. The Rock, he's a pretty buff guy. I don't think he could do that, though. I don't think any human being could do that. But you know what? In the context of this movie, in the context of this universe, I believe it and I buy it. So, yeah. This movie's great. If you haven't seen it, definitely check this one out. And then the final Fast and the Furious movie we have to discuss today is going to be F9, the Fast Saga, which introduced John Cena into this franchise. Now, I love John Cena. I will go see anything that man does. Like, his acting style, his humor style just works for me 100%. I love him popping up in things. He was fucking incredible as Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad in the Peacemaker show. He was incredible in that role. And so I cannot wait to get more Peacemaker. He was great in other movies like he was in Blockers, which is a really funny comedy. He's in that. And he's also in F9. So I can get back onto the topic here of Fast and Furious. So, yeah, he's playing the villain in this one, which is Dom's brother. So John Cena doing these ridiculous car stunts, I am down for that. But this movie is dumb as hell. Out of all the Fast and the Furious movies, they do the most over-the-top, unrealistic stunts in this one. It's just like a car swinging on a rope, like goddamn Tarzan, or them taking a car to space. Then you got like magnet cars. It's just like, who comes up with this shit? Like, honestly, like, what are they gonna do in Fast X? Like, traverse the car multiverse or some shit like that, right? I have no idea. But F9, again, it's just one of these dumb fun blockbusters that you can go see. I like this one more probably just because I'm a John Cena fan, and it just goes so dumb and so stupid that I can just laugh my ass off at how dumb this movie is, but I can enjoy it. So sometimes, right? Like, you look at some of my favorite films of all time, right? Shawshank Redemption, The Hateful Eight, Watchmen, The Departed. Like, you look at some of those, you're like, yeah, that stuff is like high class. But then I look at F9, I'm like, nah, that is not high class. But I still really enjoy it. So it really just depends on your mood when you're watching these movies. If you are in the right mood, you can have a blast with these movies. If you're in the wrong mood, chances are you won't have a blast with these movies. But yeah. So that is all 10 of the Fast and the Furious movies discussed. Again, haven't seen Fast X yet. That comes out in like 4 days. So we will get those thoughts in a little bit. So let me know if you've seen this franchise. If you are a fan of this franchise, definitely let me know what your thoughts are on this franchise, because I'm not really a fan of this franchise. I just like seeing fun blockbusters. That's pretty much where it's at this point. So yeah, I wouldn't consider myself a fan. I'm just a person who likes fun movies. Let's put it that way. So if you are a fan, let me know your thoughts so I can see how mine and yours differ. That's always the fun part about discussing movies. Um, yeah, let me know if you are excited for Fast X, if you are a fan of this franchise, or if you're not a fan of this franchise. Either way, just let me know if you're excited for Fast X or not. Yeah. Also, go ahead. If you have a Letterboxd account, go check out my Letterboxd. I think it's pretty dang cool. I really like putting lists on my Letterboxd where I like rank things and stuff. So, yeah. I have a lot of cool things on my Letterboxd. Right now, I'm watching through all the Universal Classic Monsters movies. I'm about a third of the way through, and I'm ranking all of those on my Letterboxd. So check that out if you like classic Universal Monster movies. You can also see all the movies I've seen in 2023. And then my magnum opus list, which I actually just made the other day, is every superhero movie I've ever seen ranked from best to worst. There's 100 movies in there, so definitely go check that out so you can see some of my thoughts on that. But yeah, that's like the kind of cool stuff that I got on my Letterboxd. Um, yeah, I'm pretty proud of it. It's kind of like my own little personal project sometimes, but anyways, yes. I think that's going to conclude it for this episode of Cinema Chat. Again, if you want to see my thoughts on Fast X, I will have a review out for it as soon as I possibly can, but that might be about a week after it releases. But I'm still going to post one because I want to, right? Cool. Yeah, I think that does it for today's episode. So, I just forgot how to do my outro, I guess. But anyways, yes. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great rest of your day.